Madam Speaker, I'll see if I can actually finish my speech within 5 minutes. I believe in helping Canadians. I also believe this is not and should not be a controversial statement. After all, each of us gathered here today have come together as elected members of Parliament to be representatives of the larger body of Canadians and act in their best interests. So, how should our government best help Canadians in this unprecedented time? Well, let's review. At first, this government believed that the goal would be best accomplished through a massive power grab, shamefully trying to use a public health crisis to give themselves the powers to raise taxes, debts, and spending without parliamentary approval until January 1st, 2022. When this failed, they reverted to more tried and true strategy of reckless spending and handouts, telling bureaucrats to bypass necessary checks and balances. Many of the programs developed for aid were ill-conceived and poorly implemented. Parliament needed to be recalled multiple times to correct programs, as outlined by my esteemed colleague from Descente, Churchill River, all the while racking up a deficit of $343 billion, which will push our national debt over $1 trillion, and the only G7 countries that will receive a credit rating drop. Of course, this culminated in scandals. As we are all aware, the Ethics Commissioner is investigating the $912 million contract to We Charity and organizations with close ties to the Prime Minister's families. The Prime Minister, it's the only Canadian Prime Minister formally found to have broken ethics laws, let alone the only one who have achieved it multiple times. It has resulted in steady erosions of the trust Canadians place in their governing body and in their politicians. It makes Canadians question the integrity of government's leadership. They do not believe programs in bills like C-20 will help them in time of their needs, and not just another way to line up the pockets of some certain friends. The Prime Minister promised sunny ways. He said sunlight was the best disinfectant. Now we're in the middle of summer, and there is plenty of sunlight to disinfect any dirty laundry. All he now has to do is agree to subject himself to such exposure by appearing before committees and cooperating honestly with the Ethics Commissioner to the fullest. Or else he has failed to live up to his words, once again becoming another example why Canadians doubts on measures in C-20. I would remind my esteemed Liberal colleagues too of their duty to hold higher standards. If they stand behind such incompetence and corruption, are they not complicit to the degradations of Canadian governments and the betrayal of public trust? Surely, they too must feel some tinge of betrayal from the actions of their leader. The trust they had placed in him to make Canada a better place for their constituents eroded, no longer able to hold their heads high and take pride in what they represent, because many find what they represent to be mere sponsorship scandal type, underhanded politics, a lust for power and greed to line one's own friend's pocket. What I would like to see is a change of mindset in our government and a restoration of the honor of the governing party. We must work together towards economic recovery. As the current Prime Minister has stated, Conservatives are not our enemies and they are our neighbours. The government ought to do the neighbourly thing and listen when the Conservatives get voice in Parliament to the outcry of citizens impacted by the economic downturn resulting from COVID-19 pandemic. While we encourage nonpartisan efforts to help Canadians and wait for the government to accept them, Conservatives will continue to press government to implement the Back to Work bonus and plan to make the Canadians Emergency Response Benefit more flexible and generous so that workers can earn higher wages as businesses gradually open. This will truly improve the situations of Canadians in need and help place our economy on the path of recovery. Thank you, Madam Chair.